My skin is black.
What you looking
My
at?
skin
Yeah,
is black.
I feel so good to be black right now.
Welcome to episode 142 of the Black in Fashion Podcast. I know you guys see we got a different scenery happening. We're still in the same studio, so we're still in Platform Boutique Studios, but we wanted to try something different today. A different scenery. Black in Fashion Podcast is at 142. That is crazy. We are about to hit 5 years at the end of this year that we've been doing this podcast. So, and Jess was on one of the very early episodes when we first started, so it was time to bring her back. I don't know if you guys know, but she's also one of the panelists for the self-care designer retreat, but she's also a fashion tech guru. So we're gonna get a little bit into her background, a little bit about her journey, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about the retreat. So introducing Jessica Couch. So just tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from and how you started in the fashion tech space.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Durham, North Carolina. I got into fashion tech because I love fashion. I thought that I was going to be a fashion designer. I was like sold out on it. My aunt taught me how to sew. She was a seamstress. I did all of my sister's prom dresses. I made stuff. I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I worked in retail, as most people in the fashion industry do. Of course. At the bottom of the bottom. I worked in retail while I was in high school and college. And I went to NC State's College of Textiles. And that's when I first...
Where?
College of Textiles in North Carolina. NC State.
NC State.
Yeah. Okay. The thing I liked about State was they had every machine that the industry used. So they got the machines that literally takes it takes fibers and creates yarns and threads.
Oh, nice. They do all textiles. Okay, nice.
You can make fabric.
So woven machine.
Everything.
And a knit machine. I like
you
that.
Can make. They had knit machines, woven machines. They had the shimasekis before they were like a thing. So they were doing the 3D knitting. They had the cutters so that you could see like how to lay your patterns out and how to optimize all of those things. They had the sewing machines. So I think being in the presence of that made me be like, wow, this is a world beyond me. And I did not like sewing. So I got into fashion tech really because I didn't really like to sew, and I'm always looking for a way to make my life easier, faster. I like efficiency. What really started my career, I took a trip to Egypt in about 2010 before I graduated, and I went to this place called Luxor, and I had this like experience where I was like, wow, it's so beautiful. I felt inspired. I came back, did a collection, and I started a business called Luxor and Vintage.
Okay.
Yeah, so I owned a boutique for like 3 years.
Okay.
And I liked it. I thought what I was doing was, I'm in the South. I had previously worked at Nordstrom. Some of the complaints when I worked there was like, girls like me couldn't find stuff to wear.
Gotcha.
Period. And I'm like, if you're from the South, you're already thicker and they're giving you products that don't fit the demographic. So I thought with my store, I would have things that filled in the gap.
Gotcha.
This is before Nordstrom had like Topshop. It just had BP. So it was missing a lot of brands.
Okay.
And so I wanted to fill a gap with my business, which is something I always do. I'm always trying to solve a problem with any business that I'm working with, because if you can solve a problem over and over again, you can keep your customers coming back. And so the problem I wanted to solve is to provide clothing for people of different shapes and sizes. And so I was doing that. And I noticed that when I put clothes on people who look like regular people and not models, I got way less returns, like less than 8% returns were due to fit. So that was a big deal, because when I worked at Nordstrom, people bought stuff when they didn't try it on, they would bring it back because it didn't fit.
Right.
And shopping online was difficult. And so I started to realize like some of the techniques that I was using and some of the things I wanted to do didn't exist yet.
Right.
So like for my online store, I was like, if I could do like in store, I was a top seller, not because I'm sleazy with the sales pitches, because that's not my thing. I don't even like people like that. But I knew our inventory so well, and I knew like the type of person that could walk through the door, I could categorize them to a persona based on what they had. I had their CRM data. I could sell them anything.
Gotcha.
So everybody that came on the store, I could sell them anything because I'm looking at them. And I was thinking, if I could have just take that and create an algorithm where I could do that in my store, I wouldn't have to one-on-one so much. And this is before Instagram stores were easy.
Gotcha.
Now Instagram stores is interconnected. It's great. Back then it was like a disconnected experience. And so I just went with a hunch. I was kind of like, I want to first validate, am I the only store that wants fashion tech, or am I the only store that feels like there's inefficiencies, or is this something across the industry? And so I gave up owning a store to go sleep on my sister's couch in New York. I moved to New York. I ended a relationship because at the time it just was not supportive.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel
talk
like,
about that.
I mean, we ain't gonna get into, but I will say, I feel like as a woman, entrepreneur, or business owner, your relationships are almost as important as your partnerships, as your investors, as your vision, because if they don't get it or if they're not supportive of you, it becomes a headache. So I left that relationship, moved to New York, slept on my sister's couch. She was at NYU grad school because my goal was to validate my hypothesis, right? My hypothesis was, I think the industry needs tech solutions in fashion in order to create more efficiency so we can sell online better, right? And I had to do a lot of things to validate that. So I took 2 internships. I was working 14-hour days because I took one in a with Tracy Reese, and I was in her designer.
No, not Tracy Reese. I think about somebody else.
The black lady.
Yeah, no. I took an internship and I hated it, but it was with Cynthia Rowley.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I wish I could have got with Tracy Reese.
Tracy was dope, and I noticed like she made products for women that were built like her, but she didn't have a way to communicate that. So when they were looking at returns and they were sending stuff over for fittings and it was coming back and the fit models might be different than the intention that they had with the dress. So it was a lot of discrepancies, and I'm like, you could solve this with tech, right? Even if you, at the time they didn't have social media too. Right. I got in trouble because I built them a social media program, and the people who were in charge of like PR and marketing was kind of like, you're overstepping your boundaries. And I was like,
it'd be the white, it'd be the, what they call 23, 24s, whatever.
It was them.
Yes, no, they always do that.
So I was kind of like, you know what, whatever. During those times when I was just like trying stuff and discovering, I validated my hypothesis. I realized that fashion was primed for tech, and there was nobody really there that could usher it in, and I wanted to be on the forefront of that wave. I was doing a lot then. I was styling, which was fun. I met so many great people and friends through styling. I loved it. It was such a gritty but rewarding experience. It was great to try on $500,000 Christian Dior minks. Right? I'm like, I could live for this. But then I was like, I can live for this, but my day rate, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to afford it.
Styling isn't usually based off of it's usually based off of their budget, right? Or like, do you have to have like I think stylists have gotten a lot smarter these days, but like them actually having like a set number that they're willing to work with or not, so that they can make sure they're getting paid. Because I know that business is really hard.
And back then, you couldn't really like, if you wanted to get in, so when I was doing editorial, I was working for like the International Vogue sets. And so you'd have a head stylist come in and you'd see on that sheet, she got $8,000 to show up that day. But you had to get there first, unpack everything, know where everything was, put the looks together, figure out what the vision is going to be, work with the photographer, work with the assistant, make sure everything's accounted for. She comes in, selects what you've kind of put together, or maybe she changes some stuff, and then she's gone. You got to pack everything up, do your returns, get everything back to them. And she's getting paid 8 bands that day, and I might have got paid $200.
Wow, and you did all the work.
Yeah, and you're a third assistant. So like, yeah, so it was a gritty, at the time I didn't see a path for me. And I got a lot of great friends who are stylists. So like they've been able to create careers. They might do celebrity. They might do bigger stuff like on sets. But at the time I was like, I'm having a great time in New York, but I know that there's a wave that's going to happen. I got to get ahead of it. And so I, once again, started my life over. I dropped everything. I was like, to hell with New York and my career in styling. I was doing so well in styling, I made it to the set of Art Pop. I was working under Brandon Maxwell, and Lady Gaga. It was the most fulfilling experience. But I remember having to make a hard choice of like, are you going to keep going this direction? Or are you going to pursue what you came here for? Gotcha. I think that's another thing with business is like, pivots are going to happen, but you want to choose the best pivot possible, because I could have pivoted and stayed on that path, and who knows, that could have been equally as great. True. But I pivoted and I was like, I need to prepare myself for the wave. Went and got my master's at Cornell, specifically in what I wanted to study with like fit technology integration. And then I just came out thumping, trying to figure it out.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like in your journey of like entrepreneurship and pivoting and stuff like that. You've also dealt like with partnerships and collaborations. Yeah. Now, how is it, or what are some, I guess, key things that you look for in a business partner? Because I think a lot of people, they want to have a business partner, but it be a lack of trust. It might be like they're having to go 50-50. So what are some key things from your experiences that are great when it comes to a partnership dynamic?
That is a great question. So first of all, your business partner is going to be like a relationship. So it's going to be like a marriage, right? It's the closest thing that you'll have to a marriage when you're not married. So you have to make sure that you all have the same foundation. I think oftentimes people have this idea that opposites attract, right? And they're like, oh, it's good, this person does this, but I'm the opposite, I'll do that. That is kind of a myth, okay? Really? Yes, okay. This is what I like to say instead. You need the same foundation and complementing skill sets. So in that thing, you want the same foundation. You don't want to have opposite foundations. You want to be the same type of hard workers, people that believe in this, have similar visions, and maybe this person is really good at small details and you're really good at the bigger picture, so that those things complement and they fit into each other. If you don't have that, what will happen is, when times get hard, when things go left, when things are good, people revert back to who they are and their homeostasis of being. So if that person is opposite from you, if shit hits the fan, now y'all have this tension between you, because you might want to solve a problem one way, they're going to want to solve it another way, and it's going to cost your business. Gotcha. So I think with partnerships, you have to be equally yoked. Okay. That's in the Bible. Okay. God knows you have to be equally yoked in your vision, what you're willing to give. 50-50 partnerships can be tough, because you absolutely have to vet that person to make sure not only are you all equally yoked, but you both have the same ideals and you can come together in that way. But there's other ways that you can structure partnerships. You know, like, it doesn't always have to be 50-50. It can be merit based. If one person is bringing in clients and the other person does something else, it can be based on commissions. It's a lot of ways you can structure it. But it's super important that you need to really figure out, what are you trying to get a partner for? Because I made a mistake like this before. Okay. I didn't like administrative tasks or like certain small things. Or, for instance, I've never worked in corporate, so I thought I needed someone who had those skills as a partner. Those are things you can potentially hire out. Those are things that AI can do for you now. True. Those are things that interns can do for you.
I don't even have that in my business no more because of goddamn technology. I used to have a customer service and an operations manager. I don't have even one of those now because of tech. Yeah.
And thank God for it.
Incorporated a lot of tech. I don't even have I don't even answer inquiries no more.
You don't have to.
That shit is automated. Somebody send an inquiry, send them back to brochure that shows them how to book. Like, so all that, it actually cut a whole thing for me. Like, that's I like technology.
Yeah, that's why you have to think about it. What am I really needing a partner for? Do I need somebody to help bring in work? Or is it that I'm needing to delegate tasks to someone else so that I can focus on the bigger picture? And depending on the answer you come up with, it could be a tech solution. You don't necessarily have to have a person. But if you do have a person, you have to grow. You have to learn. It's a lot. It's a lot.
I feel like having employees is hard. Now, having someone that you literally got to talk to about every step of the business or whatever, and y'all not meshing well, and the opposite attracting is crazy, because that's exactly what I thought. Like, okay, you're the creative mind, you are the financial mind. Those are the two that I just think of for business. Like, if there's a partnership, it's somebody who's better at running financials, and it's the other person is the thinker, the creative, or whatever. Like, those are the two. Like, things like that you need in business, the forward thinker and the person who can manage,
because those are complementing. Those are still complementing, but you want both of those people to have the same foundation, that we're willing to solve problems like this, or we are high achievers in this sense, or we both value having this, that, and the third. You need a foundation that's similar, but then you need complementing skill sets if you are going to have a partnership, because you need lines of delineation, right? Because what you don't want is getting confused about who does what and why. And sometimes that happens in partnerships. I've been in partnerships where no matter what you say, you're like, hey, I'm going to take care of this. People want to try it. They want to cross the line. They want to do it. And then it creates confusion. And you're just like, why don't we just stick to what we do best?
Right.
And you will be rewarded for that. So, yeah, partnerships, there's AI now. So I'm like, just really consider what you need a partner for, and then make sure, you have complementing skill sets and foundationally are aligned.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about just like fashion tech and for newer emerging designers. Now, a lot of times with newer emerging designers, the budgets are really, really tight or whatever, and they can't always incorporate technology into their businesses, initially or whatever. So is there any programs or resources that you feel that are not crazy when it comes to, I guess, the price points, stuff like that, and what is something designers could just do better to incorporate tech into their fashion space when they're on a very low budget?
Absolutely. I think you should start small. Like, sometimes the best tech is fintech. It's ways to get payments. Like, Klarna is a fintech, right? It allows your customers to break their payments into bite-sized pieces. Something that small makes a big difference, because you might be selling something that's really expensive that people like, but the technology allows them to still buy it, and you're covered. You have like insurance from the company, but then they can split up their payments. That's a technology you want to implement. Even if it costs you however much it costs monthly, or it takes a percentage, as long as you're making money, I think that type of tech is cool. Yeah. There's also technology that's consumer facing. So let's say you're a designer and you are a real designer at heart, where you get inspired, you want to make pieces, but we're in a consumer centric economy, which means it doesn't matter how creative you want to be. It has to resonate with your audience, and you need to do a lot of work to figure out what is my audience, who am I catering to, and what am I going to offer them that solves a problem. Mm-hmm. So some of the technology I always like to advocate for is the 3D design technology, like a Clo 3D.
Gotcha.
Clo 3D, $80 a month, and you can design anything in 3D and show it to your audience and test it, right? Because you always want to, with tech, you want to test, learn, and repeat on a small scale. So before you spend a lot of money going ahead and picking out the wrong fabric or the wrong silhouette, you can test which products your audience responds to the best. You can put it in your emails, you can put it on your social, and then based on the data you get back, then you can make a decision. That could be really helpful if you're trying to produce things and you want to make sure that you're on point.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Was that virtual fashion show that Hanifa did that year? Was that Clo 3D?
It was Browseware. It's the same.
It's Browseware.
Yeah, Browseware.
Okay, but that's really what it was, though.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, Browseware is a bit more complicated with the user experience. I like Clo 3D because if you're like new at it, you can pick it up easily because it's very intuitive to how you're actually going to make a pattern anyway.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so like if you're a pattern maker by hand, or even if you're a draper, it mimics that so that you can learn pretty quickly.
Would you say that you need to have any prior skills like Adobe Illustrator, Adobe, like any of those in order to maneuver through Clo 3D?
Yeah, I mean, let me say, if you don't, you can absolutely YouTube and take your time. Okay. And get some coffee, your Adderall, whatever you need. Whatever you need. Whatever you need. But I do think it helps. I think understanding pattern making inherently is going to be the skill you need the most, and you can figure out everything else. You have to be a pattern maker or a draper in order to really understand it, but if you're not, you can definitely learn it. But I think tools like that is super important. Tools like your back-end data analytics, you need to speak data, and it's not a hard language, but you need to understand if someone comes onto your website, they look at an item and then they drop off your page, that's an indication that something is missing. You're not going to always know what the something is, but the more analytics you're able to interpret.
That's called website stickiness, right?
Yes.
Okay. Learned that in my master's program.
Okay. You need to know, you need to make sure that when people come to your site, they're moving through to conversions and they're not just coming because they saw a cute Instagram ad, can't find that item on your site, and then they leave. Analytics will tell you that.
Yeah.
Analytics will also tell you that somebody might have spent, a minute looking at something and then they didn't buy. And maybe on average, everyone's spending a minute looking at it. And that makes you have to work backwards and say, well, is my copy bad? Mm-hmm. Do I need to change my copy? Are they not understanding size and fit? Is this a high-risk garment? I call a high-risk garment anything that doesn't have stretch or it isn't like sweatpants, something that you can't just be okay if it came and it was the wrong size. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a high-risk garment. The higher the risk the item is, the more information that you need to convey so that whoever's shopping with you is like, okay, I feel confident to buy this online knowing that it will fit me. Whether you do that by showing them customers or having some type of fit experience, you need to integrate that.
Gotcha.
So little stuff like that can make a difference if you're on a budget, but you definitely want to integrate and you want to make sure that you have a clean experience across social commerce, because right now, having a website is great, but people are converting on social. Mm-hmm. Last year we had 79 million social buyers. Those are people that are literally going onto Instagram to buy things instead of your Shopify store, which would suck if you didn't have that integration, right? Because it creates a negative experience.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. See, I love that. So let's jump a little bit in. So we have the designer retreat coming up in Chicago. I know you guys have been the summertime shy, but it is the world, okay? So I'm glad we moved the date, right? We're going to have good food there. We're going to have a lot of experience. So Jessica is actually one of our panelists on the Be Well panel. Yes. And we're going to talk a lot about just entrepreneurship and their self-care. So I did want the retreat to base around self-care. So can you tell us a couple of your rituals or activities that you do, as an entrepreneur, things that you this is my must, this is my no. For me, I don't work on Monday mornings. It's just I just can't do it. Yeah. That's my time. And then I work Thursdays. I work on my business. I don't work in my business. So those are my two. Having a day of the week where you work on your business instead of in your business. And
Very
then
genius.
I've also did it where I've only put clients on certain days or whatever. So that way I have days where I'm free flowing thinking, and that's a biggest thing for me. And I meditate every morning and I journal.
Come on.
So
now.
what are yours?
Okay. I too don't take meetings on Monday unless I have to. Unless it's money. If it's money calling, whatever, we'll talk about it. Right. But I try not to. I need my Mondays to plan and look at my calendar, think about the week, follow up, plan emails, do all that stuff. That's a self-care thing. For me, some other self-care practices is therapy when needed and mentorship. Like every so often, because I feel like your business will only be as big as you can be, as you can imagine, as you can adapt to. So like you never are going to have time to stay the same. You absolutely have to be challenging yourself in a way. So it's good to have a therapist or talking to somebody or someone that can raise the bar for you and also remediate whatever's keeping you from being successful.
I like that.
Yes, a lot of self-care things that I do when I am settled, because right now I'm traveling. When I'm settled, working out is self-care.
But travel is also a form of self-care too, like
It
different sceneries.
was.
It was.
And then I was like, this is expensive and exhausting. But no, like travel, yes, taking a break and getting away is a great way to self-care. Like you absolutely have to turn off and say, no, that's self-care. And I think like working out, you got to treat your body right because like right now, I have a hip problem. You know why I have a hip problem? Because I sat down so much during COVID just to work on the computer because we weren't out and about that it like exhausted my glute muscles and my hips responded by being weak. And now I'm like,
wow.
right, can you imagine? It's a thing. It's a thing. So it's like, if you don't keep your body together and if you're not making sure you have like this stand-up desk, you're not moving around, you could definitely get injured. You could be suffering. I had to get a shot in my butt. As a result of that, a shot in my butt. I was so
you was like in a lot of pain.
Yes.
Wow.
What? Because I was running. So I have been sitting all the time, and I was like, I'm just gonna get up and I'm gonna go for a run because I like to exercise. And then I pulled a muscle in my groin, which aggravated my hip, and my hip went nuts. And the doctor was like, "Oh, this is happening because your glutes are weak. You sit down too much." And I'm like, "The fuck, I have to work. Sorry." And then like.
It's raw.
Oh, thank you, good.
Yeah. Shit, fuck, damn, bitch, all that.
Oh, yeah, wonderful. My favorite. Self-care is cursing when I want. So I went there. I drove myself to ER because I'm like, I gotta work. Like, I don't have time to be in pain. Girl, they were like, we can solve it for you, but you're gonna have to get a shot in your butt. Right. I'm like, I done reached the pinnacle of I need more self-care. And then I think self-care is also, you got to laugh with your friends and you got to reflect.
Yeah.
I think women do that so well. Like we take time to talk and reflect and bounce ideas. Sometimes that's my self-care.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I talk to my best friend. I pretty much talk to her damn near every morning. I've been doing, we were doing that before LC even was like a thing. When LC was in the beginning stages, we go to work at the same time. So I'd be on the train. She'd be driving to work. She lives in Chicago. We would just be talking about ideas and things that we wanted. And she helped me out so much in the beginning or whatever. And then she was even my first operations manager. But we still do that to this day. Even after she left LC, we still talk every morning.
That's
like
beautiful.
between like 8 and like 9 o'clock. And we literally, when we were working together, it was like, are we talking business or personal? Yeah.
But
now it's like they just kind of run in between for us.
do.
So we talk about personal shit and business shit, but that is like my stuff. I talk to that girl every day.
Yeah, I think that having conversations and having interactions with your community and like your support system is self-care because you got to be able to turn off. You got to be able to voice your opinion somewhere and people hear you and you feel good about it because everything can't be about work.
Right.
Everything can and you'll fall into that if you're starting a business or if your business takes an L or if I don't know, it's a damn pandemic.
Right.
If the whole world shuts down, you will find yourself being like, I gotta overwork, but like you need time for family, you need time for stuff, you need time for friends, and so you must balance. Balance is self-care.
I love that. And I've only been doing it since this. Actually, oh my God, we're in May. I've been doing it since December, but I have been taking Pilates.
I love Pilates.
I do it 3 days a week. I'm a member at Club Pilates. I have an unlimited membership.
The unlimited membership is a value.
Oh yeah, I'm there. I was there. I'm there. I'm there 3 times a week. I'm there on Tuesday. I usually either do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or I do Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. But I do it 3 times a week, and I even do the self-assist massage on Fridays or whatever. It's just a restore class. So literally, just like. After a whole long week of working, I realized how much I like that class because it's not a class where you're working out. Yeah. It's a class where you're just stretching. And it's not yoga, but you're hitting the pain points for you. A lot of spine work on the spine and like hip and opening up your hip.
That's what I
need. I'm like, I like this.
I like this. We need it. Our bodies are our
need
tool.
A restore class too. So like not just the working out, but also the massages and the restore of your body.
I definitely need massage. Yeah. Plus, I think like one of my love languages is touch. So like massages fill that in for me in a non-sexual way, where I still get touched on because I need that. But I'm not gonna hold you. Pilates, I loved it. This is why I'm done traveling, because it's been fun, but I'm like, I want to settle back in and go to my workout classes and do all that and have a juicer. I can't travel with a juicer right now, and it's like buying $10 juices 3, 4, 5 times a day. It's just not smart. It's not smart.
Well, before we wrap up, I have my little segment just called It's a Muse. So if you just want to throw out a quote, a prayer, a mantra, affirmation, anything that you do or say that just keeps you going. It could be a book that you recommend, but it's a muse. So just something that inspires you that you want to share with someone else.
I got this from a book written by Florence Scovel Shinn. I got to give you this book. It's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And she has a book called Your Word is Your Wand. And when I wake up, I say, today is the day of my amazing success. Today is the day of my amazing prosperity. And I like to start my day saying those type of things so that no matter what, it puts me in that tone. And I think that's super helpful for me.
I like that. One more time.
Today is the day of my amazing success. Today is the day of my amazing prosperity. I say that, and I also be like, thank you, God, for waking me up.
Yes, I say that every day. Thank God for waking me up.
Number one.
Amazing success and prosperity. I love that.
Yeah, because that's super helpful.
It is. Now I'm going to incorporate that in my routine after I say thank you for waking me up this morning.
Gotta thank the man upstairs
for
waking us.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you guys get your tickets.
Yeah.
Now, y'all know.
Yeah.
Y'all know I'm a realist.
Yeah.
If y'all don't buy these tickets, I'm going to have to cancel this shit.
You're going to miss out. It's going to be fun.
So I'm just like, y'all got to buy y'all tickets.
Yeah.
We moved it back to July 7th tonight, but we have so many ticket options. We got Friday only, Saturday only, Sunday only. We got all inclusive. We got some amazing vendors. So we got facials, we got yoga, we got uninfused and infused food for the entire weekend.
Need both.
The drinks. We have henna, like we got it's gonna be great. It's a retreat.
Yeah.
We got a henna specialist coming. We got a dance class. It's gonna get you a little sexy chair dance and like really feel sensual. So it's all about you. This weekend is about you. So we do have the panel, but other than that, girl, we are gonna be relaxing and you're gonna just network and meet a lot of great people.
And real camaraderie.
Yeah. So hope to see you guys there. Definitely I'll put the link in the show notes. So go ahead and copy your tickets and we will see you guys in Chicago.
Pull up Chicago.
Right. And on that note, stay black. Peace out.
I love that.
Stay black. Peace out. Oh, hell yeah.